Leaders are commonly perceived as people with the power to make others follow. Servant leadership is described differently. Servant leaders put their followers first. They serve by empowering, having empathy, and nurturing people. They feel the need to empower people to maximize their full potential, and above all, they are ethical. By definition, servant leadership means putting people's best interests first. Servant leaders aim to provide their followers opportunities to grow and become wiser. Providing room for autonomy is another vital aspect of servant leadership. Additionally, servant leaders seek to assure their followers will contribute to society, including to those whom are less fortunate. The characteristics of servant leaders as identified by Robert Greenleaf are listening, empathy, healing, awareness, persuasion, conceptualization, foresight, stewardship, and the commitment to the growth of people. Through listening, servant leaders acknowledge people's viewpoints. Empathy is important so people feel understood. Healing entails helping others through their problems. Additionally, Greenleaf's vision of awareness states a leader needs to be self-aware in all contexts, including social, political, and environmental. Persuasion, according to Greenleaf, is the art of consistently and gently convincing others to change. Conceptualization in servant leadership refers to a leader's ability to get their vision and goals for their organization adhered to. Furthermore, foresight is important as leaders need to take responsibility for looking into the future to assure the prosperity of their organization. Stewardship in the servant leadership model means that the leader will take full responsibility for the good of the organization. Greenleaf also believed in the growth of people, which meant caring for their personal and professional goals. Lastly, servant leaders build a sense of community. Servant leadership has not been adopted as a theory, but serves companies such as Southwest Airlines and Men's Warehouse as a guiding philosophy. Leading researchers are in disagreement about treating servant leadership as a set of behavioral attributes or a trait phenomenon. Although there is disagreement, servant leadership has been widely accepted as a leadership approach.
Now that you have some background information on servant leadership, we are going to review the model for servant leadership as described by Northouse 2016. There are three components that make up the servant leadership model. These three components are antecedent conditions, servant leader behaviors, and outcomes. Three conditions must be met for servant leadership to take hold within an organization. The context and culture must be right for servant leadership to grow. The leader must have the right personality traits, including moral development and emotional intelligence. Lastly, followers of this model must believe in its merits and want this model to exist within their organization. There are 7 behaviors that are most important to the actualization of servant leadership. Conceptualizing is the ability to identify and solve complex problems in alignment with the mission and vision of the organization. Emotional healing is the capacity to support others through the power of listening. This is about taking the time to really be there for followers of the organization. Putting followers first does just that. Followers' success comes before that of the leader. When leaders help followers grow and succeed, they put the personal and professional growth of their followers before their own to help them accomplish their goals. Behaving ethically is maintaining a high moral standard as a leader, being honest, kind, and just in all actions. Empowering followers encourages those within the organization to be autonomous and make decisions for themselves without checking every small thing against the opinion of the leader, which increases follower confidence. Lastly, creating value for the community is when leaders purposefully engage in acts of service that benefit the community around them and encourage their followers to do the same. The outcome of servant leadership is very much a cycle. Great performance and a lot of growth on an individual level results in better organizational performance. This leads to a larger positive societal impact. Eventually, the followers of servant leadership become leaders themselves, and the cycle continues.
Servant leadership focuses on the behaviors leaders should exhibit to put followers first and to support followers' personal development. It is concerned with how leaders treat followers and the outcomes that are likely to emerge. So what is the mechanism that explains how servant leadership works? It begins when leaders commit themselves to putting their followers first, being honest with them, and treating them fairly. Servant leadership works best when leaders are altruistic and have a strong motivation and deep-seated interest in helping others. In addition, for successful servant leadership to occur, it is important that followers are open and receptive to servant leaders who want to empower them and help them grow. Leadership framed from this perspective downplays competition in the organization and promotes egalitarianism. Servant leadership argues unabashedly that leaders should put followers first, share control with followers, and embrace their growth. Servant leadership provides a counterintuitive and provocative approach to the use of influence or power in leadership. It argues that leaders should not dominate, direct, or control, but rather leaders should share control and influence, to give up control. Servant leadership has severe limitations. The paradoxical nature of the title servant leadership creates semantic noise that diminishes the potential value of the approach. Because the name appears contradictory, servant leadership is prone to be perceived as fanciful or whimsical. In addition, being a servant leader implies following, and following is viewed as the opposite of leading. Servant leadership can be applied at all levels of management and in all types of organizations. Within a philosophical framework of caring for others, servant leadership sets forth a list of behaviors that individuals can engage in if they want to be servant leaders. The prescribed behaviors of servant leadership are not esoteric, they are easily understood and generally applicable to a variety of leadership situations.
Now that you have an overview of the chapter, let's review the 3 case studies for servant leadership starting on page 243. In case study 1, what 3 characteristics does school secretary Sharon Noble display most? In the model, Sharon shows listening, healing, and commitment of growth to other people. In case study 2, Doctors of the Poor, what 3 characteristics can you see? This model demonstrates empathy, awareness, and community building. As for case study 3, Southwest Airlines, we see the impacts of practicing follower growth and the focus of organizational performance. In summary, like any other technique, servant leadership is best under specific conditions. Where a leader chooses to put growth of people first, or if a leader is not directly prescribed, such as a gathering of equals, servant leadership can be an ideal model to achieve desired outcomes.